Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Honey, and today we are going to be working on a cherry blossom worn dirt path. It's going to be very natural, and hopefully that's something that you're into. And let's just get going. As always, the first thing I do is set my color palette, and then I make everything the main color, which is going to be the middle brown, and then I texturize it with the color above and the color below. I will come through and I will use this piece a few times to create some varying center pieces with various worn patches through. I want this path to be very pixelated, kind of grassy, I want some of the nature showing through that beautiful spring grass in order to complement the Sakura petals and flowers. So the most important thing about texture is just not to go overboard. You don't want it to be completely saturated. You want that middle color to shine through. And then you're going to go and you want to pixelate some pieces to make them look very worn and rustic and natural. And it'll be really beautiful once we add the cherry blossoms to it. So working on the edge pieces, I always start with the good old-fashioned denim to mori dirt path pattern. I don't know why, it's just instinctual at this point. Like, I have it memorized. It's always the best starting place for me because it reminds me of like shapes and how they're not all completely rounded on the edges, and there's some variation, and it makes it look very visually appealing and interesting. And even though I do go through and pixelate the heck out of it, I still use this as a starting point. For some reason, it just translates a little bit better than just starting with like a rounded or curved edge. Although you will see me do that later on, it just takes a little more to make that look natural than it does for something like this. And I'm going to go through and make all of the edges. I know that I already gave you this custom design tutorial in the past as far as the dirt road goes, but I just thought I would update it a little bit because I did leave some things out, and I cut it because I think back then I was so worried about taking up y'all's time and how much time I was taking that I didn't really add the whole entire process with the flowers and how I decide where to put them and all of that. So I thought I would just go ahead and put in the entire process again and maybe discuss why I do some of the things that I do. Now, these outer edges are for when we pixelate it. It will end up looking a little stronger around the edges because even though it is a heavily pixelated path and it is very natural and worn looking, if you darken the edges just a little bit, it gives it like that edging still, like where you can see parts of the path. So I'm gesturing with my hands or with my arms, and you guys cannot see me, so this is absolutely terrible. But it just gives it a little bit more of a border. It makes it a little bit defined, even in the nondescript kind of way that this path is, if that makes any kind of sense to you. So one of the most common things that I see when people complain that their work is maybe not as natural looking as they'd like it to be is that they maybe over pixelate a little bit too much. So it doesn't have to be like every other pixel is clear. So what you want to do is you want to create chunks and cracks and like kind of crevices. You want little chunks of the main color still visible. All of that is going to create a natural kind of texture and a natural wearing. You want edges to still be a little bit visible. You want it to blend with your centerpiece. You don't want your centerpiece to look like a giant square blob next to it. So you also have to keep that in mind. You want it to come all the way out to the edges of the corners where it's going to meet the other pieces. You want them all to meet in the same playing field, and that'll help keep your path looking very natural. so you don't have to use 500 leaf piles to cover up areas where it doesn't blend so nicely. So one of the things that helps me the most is to go ahead and pixelate as much as I want, maybe even go a little crazy if I want to, but then just take the main color and add back in chunks if I see that it's just a little too much or if I went a little too crazy. I think when I use flowers, I tend to pixelate just a little bit more because the flowers do add like chunks of pixels like together. So that does kind of help me out just a little bit. As always, today's music is brought to you by the Demon Gummies. They're absolutely amazing if you're looking for something to like read to or study or just to relax to. They are always a good choice, and all of their stuff will be linked in the description below. Okay, so now we're getting to our accents, and this is where it really all begins. The rest was pretty much repetitive and everything that I did in my last dirt path, but what I did here for cherry blossom season was I looked up pictures of Sakura flowers and what they would look like lying on the floor. I looked up other cherry blossom paths to see other people's takes on it and different petals, and decided to find my own little take on it. And I went about it in the way that I usually draw. Like it's kind of like doing an outline, doing like line art almost, and then going in and doing your shading and bringing it to life and making it look a little more realistic, which is pretty much how I draw in real life. And I kind of approached it the same way. When I was doing the outlines, I was looking in the canvas and kind of doing what felt right there. You're welcome to just copy what I made if you'd like, or create your own and see what you come up with. But this is what I ended up coming up with. Hopefully you guys like it. That's pretty much it. I'll let you watch the rest of these and I'll get back to you at the end. So that is it. Hopefully you guys like it. If you don't want to make your own and you want to make mine, then there is my creator code. And hopefully you guys like the way this came out. I actually really do. And I want to thank you all for being here if you made it this far. I know you can be doing absolutely anything in the world and you chose to spend a few minutes of your time here with me. I appreciate you so much for that. Shout out to my channel members. You guys are absolutely amazing and I couldn't do this without you. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.